Well, it is that time again, everybody. How you are doing? Well, my name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? You're just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? My name is indeed, so I call myself, BirdDog John. Hopefully you're well and hanging in with us on this beautiful Michigan Thursday morning. I'm just going to check my audio real quick because I haven't really done many checks here since the last show. So I call myself. Hey-oh, so the audio's working. That's good news. It's a little bit on the high side, so I'm just going to back it down a shade. Just a smidge, just to see how that goes. So hopefully you guys are doing well. And where was the one? This one. There we go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
What's going on? Hopefully you are doing well. Now, so we are still in the experiment phase of the vMix integration of social media platforms. Do me a favor. What does it look like over on YouTube? Because I'm trying to push a 2K stream to YouTube, but of course it says that the analytics say things look good over there. I am only able to push 720 to Twitch, which is its recommended resolution, mind you, which I find astounding for a gaming platform. But so I'm pushing 720 over to Twitch. I'm pushing also another 1080 to Facebook. But the Facebook post doesn't have the... so that should be over in the... Where's that? In the user group, maybe? But the Facebook user group, yeah. So I'm over in the user group. That user group, though, only has... There's no chat integration yet that I can figure out. Evidently, you can do it with, your Facebook pages, but you can't integrate a group, which is what the BirdDog user group is. It's a legit private group on Facebook. So wherever you're at, let me know. However, if you're messaging me over on Facebook, I'm going to have to periodically check on Facebook because I don't have the integration working directly with vMix right now. We are also using vMix Social, which is essentially a platform that brings in your messages on YouTube and on Twitch and allows them to be integrated into vMix directly. And so on Tuesday's show, I monkeyed around with an overlay and how that would actually work. I'm just going to check on, yep, so the audio's showing up. Now I'm monitoring the show now inside YouTube Studio and Twitch Channel Manager, whatever that's called. I'm monitoring that over there and just watching to see kind of like what happens in those two places. And I did not put a placeholder up for today's show. Now I did technically, but the show about vMix integrating with cloud has to be bumped to Tuesday because I want to have Josh on the show, and he's going to come into the show and discuss lots of things with me on Tuesday. But the main thing is I want to bring him in over cloud as a cloud source and see how that works as I'm bringing him in across cloud, and then I'm sending all of this up to YouTube and Twitch and all that. So we're like really giving our network a run for its money. Now, the advantage about today, so I've upped the bit rate going to YouTube substantially, okay? I've substantially updated that bit rate, and I'm trying to... I need another computer. I want to see what that resolution looks like, but obviously I don't want to pull it down on any of these computers. So I'm going to have to rely on you guys over on YouTube to let me know what that looks like. You should have an option to stream this in 2K in 1440. So let me know what that looks like. I'm streaming this on my phone in 1080 because it's just an iPhone. And when I was streaming it in I was streaming it in 2K, it was not super clean, but when I changed it to 1080, it's super clean. And inside the studio for YouTube, it is also super clean. So that's good stuff there. Good morning, just for a change. What's going on? Angus, welcome to the show. Hey, I'm out at a show and I can't hang around. Well, that's a bummer. Well, thank you for checking in. I always appreciate that. You've been on a show for a couple of my shows now, right? So you've been out busy doing stuff. So I understand people have jobs. They can't hang around online all the time waiting for my show to go live. However, I do want to talk about something today because I feel like we got to start churning out some content here. So one of the pieces that I had multiple tickets yesterday that came in that I actually handled, talking about just getting started with the P200, and it's a lot of it is actually just camera basics. And to be honest with you, if you've never done it before, there's no reason why you should know how to do that. And so, boy, these in-ear monitors kind of like make my ears stick up. So there's really no reason why you would know how to do that. And so we need to produce some basic videos. What I will say, though, is in setting up the basic coloration and image properties of a camera, start with the idea, at least with the foreknowledge, that it is subjective. It is what you think looks good. It is not. There's not some like industry standard. It's what your style is. It's why there are very particular like movie producers, right? Because they are creating content the way that they think it should be made. And so when you see, the credits roll for like, what's the new film out that's like or coming out that is basically it looks like it's shot exactly like 300 was shot. It's the same director, same style of storytelling. And all of that comes down to how are we setting the cameras? What sort of footage do we want? Same thing here on a much smaller scale, but it's same thing here is we are talking about what do you want it to look like? And so when people write in, if you are watching this, post show and you're about to send me a ticket and you say the image on the camera looks bad. What do you mean by bad? Like, what do you mean by that? Because it's a genuine, honest question. What do you think looks good? Because that's going to be different for everybody, and we're going to have to hash out what it is that you're thinking it needs to be in order for us to provide that sort of image. So I have a particular way of setting these cameras up that I like, depending on what the shoot is for and what we're doing. But I can give you some general ideas, and we're going to do that today. A little later on, probably at about 11:30. And also a new mystery Snacks on Stream box has arrived, so we'll probably do that at some point as well. And then wrap it up. I'm going to try and keep it close to an hour. There's a bunch of moving parts here today and several people that are out sick that I just need to be available and cover things. Plus, there's about a half a dozen meetings that are happening after about 1 o'clock Eastern time here that I need to be a part of. And so I'm going to need to have my head in the game. So let's do some very intentional work here today, and we will move forward with some of that. All right. Where are we going here? Okay, so first I'm going to check the YouTube stream. I'm very curious to know what it looks like for you. So if you're watching over on YouTube or if you're watching on Twitch, although Twitch maxes out at 720, which is what the source is. And so it actually looks pretty good coming straight from vMix to Twitch. And then, of course, there are... Oh, that's crazy. The bit rate kind of like went all wonky for a minute, but now it's pretty stable. And then I'm also streaming this to Facebook. So if you're over on Facebook and watching me there, but the Facebook post, let me know. Yeah. Okay. So it's live and good to go. I think it is also streaming. Oh, it goes up to 1080. So I find that the quality getting away from StreamYard has been greatly increased. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that things are definitely looking a little bit more detailed. And so, although I love Restream because I can go to a lot of platforms, truly the backbone platforms that I use is BirdDogJohn.tv. And then I use Twitch, which my handle is also BirdDogJohn. And I use LinkedIn, which I get some traffic from there. The problem is I have to pick 3 and I have 4. So that's a bummer that I basically have to choose between Facebook and LinkedIn. And at this point, it's probably more beneficial for a support show to be in the user group and be available live. But if you're watching me over on Facebook, remember to jump over to BirdDogJohn.tv if you want to chat with us, because that's where the live chat is. And so if you're there, I'll try and double check in on the chat over on Facebook, but forgive me if that goes unnoticed for a little bit. Okay, so I have no idea what is in this Snacks on Stream box. I failed to do Snacks on Stream on Tuesday, and now I was told what was in there after the show, and now they appear on my desk over there. So something else has been put in here, and yeah, we gotta sort that out. So let's just get that out of the way, and then we're gonna do the 200 stuff. So let's plan on doing that next.
John's just making up stuff.
The playlist is on. So let's try that again. Hang on.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, gosh, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Good stuff, everybody. Good stuff. Love me some snacks on stream. Okay, so I guess I better get back to VMix here. And yeah, here's what we're going to get into. So I don't know what this is, but we're about to find out. And oh boy. More mysteries from Asia. So all right, let's get into this. Let me get my always fun to get the Google Translate out and see what it is that we're getting into while we talk about P200. This is a very thin snack, so I'm not too sure what it is I'm getting into here. But if I take a photo of this, something about a pacifier is what it says. That always makes me feel uncomfortable. It is okay, so I'm not getting anything from this stuff up here. All this says is perfect for a snack. And then down here it says kelp pacifier. And then these just say I can. Like I can endure it? Is that what this is? Is this going to be like some sort of torture? Or let's see if I can live interpret what this is. Okay, so all the nutritional facts is on here. It is indeed called a pacifier, created to take advantage of the natural wind of kelp. Pardon? What are we talking about here? What natural wind are we getting into? It does say created to take advantage of the natural wind of kelp. Wind, W-I-N-D. Flavored ingredients, kelp. Okay, so it's kelp is what we're trying today. Reduced starch syrup, scallop extract, yeast extract, seasonings, pH adjusters, and sweeteners like licorice. Oh boy, and stevia. Not a licorice fan. We do our best to ensure quality, but if you have any concerns, please contact our customer service. We will not cover the shipping costs, so we will replace it. Toll-free number. Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. Weekdays, 9 to 5. Very cool. Expiration date is 5/16/24. And this package is made out of plastic, evidently. So, alrighty. So, first we're going to try kelp. No idea what I'm getting into here. Let's have the good old-fashioned sniff test. See how that goes. That smells like something. Huh. Very strange. Kelp is good for the heart. Kelp, it's good for the heart. The more you ear, the more you wind. Boy, that's a very weird. It's dried, right? So it's a very strange snack. I'm a little concerned that the creature on the front is all saying, I can, as like, there's a question that you can't? Why are you psyching yourself up like this? Whew. That is different. I wouldn't say it would be my go-to snack. That's for sure. It definitely tastes like open. Well, thank you for that. Okay, rip off the gold tab. Yeah, okay, so it looks like it's in the form of a chocolate bar. And yes, NetHab, I appreciate you then clarifying what it was that you were referencing. Okay, so I think it's milk chocolate. Still not sure. It appears to be that. Ooh, it's quite soft, though. Quite soft chocolate in terms of, like... What is this flavor? Because the flavor that it says on the box is burnt. Burnt milk flavor. I don't taste the burning milk part, but I could be wrong. Ghana roast milk. Burnt milk. Enjoy milk. Sweetness and aroma. They may have meant chocolate milk. It's quite good. This is far better than the kelp snacks. I do appreciate that. I will have to save some of this for the team in the lobby, but that's good. I appreciate that. Okay. So, there you go. Let's get after this stuff today, because it has become very obvious to me that we need more of this like basic stuff out there. And I think that it's fair to say that even updating this sort of thing would be very helpful. So having these videos updated would be helpful. And now that we haven't 9.4 is out for cameras. Oh, I guess Silicon 2 is out too as well, eh? Maybe I should update the P200. Will I brick my primary camera? Find out now on BirdDogJohn.tv. It's the place to be, y'all. All right, so let's head on over to BirdDog Downloads. And I will throw this over on the big board. Not to be confused with Big Bird. I'm going to put that over on the big board. And I will yoink. Hey, everybody. I'm going to hang out here cameras, P200, and then 112. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I am already on 112 here, but I will double check. I don't think I am. And so in order to get over there, I have named all of my cameras things that... Why am I not typing? Uh-oh, is my keyboard dying? Quite possible. It's been a while since I've charged this device, but have no fear. I have a charging cable, and it's USB-C, as all things should be. So there we go. Charging it up. Okay, so now we're into the P200. And, oh, look. No, I'm on the beta version for 112. So let's go ahead and make our dreams come true by seeing if we can't brick this camera. Now, when I do the update, I will switch to the 110. And then that should... Whoopsie. Don't do that, folks. Don't install the zip file. That's not going to work. See, even the head of support does stuff like that sometimes. Not intentional, but okay. Did I not click extract all? Ugh. Dear diary. Today, my Windows PC acted like a Windows PC. All right, extract all. Here we go. Yoink. Yes, please. And done. Okay, let's try that again. 112. Bob's your uncle. This is a 2.3. Is it? Yeesh. All right, upload. Now, I'm going to freeze here. So, yoink. Let's jump over here. You can see the activity happening in my background. There it goes. And my P200 is frozen. Currently running through the update script, so it'll be a few minutes, but I'm actually already on the latest like baseboard and everything, because we were using this as a beta update, which this camera has been running the beta for like a month, so, or maybe 3 weeks. Cool. Everything checks out. Success. MCU current. Oh, they added something in this. Here, I'll go over here. Oh, wait. Nope. So they added something here where it says MCU version, MCU required version 24, MICU current version 24, MICU update validation successful. That is just for you to, that is just for you to have the option. Oh, no, I'm not fuzzy. To check during the update that you have the latest, the correct baseboard. It's basically the software, the firmware, telling you, yes, it's up to date and working correctly. So, okay, congratulations, you've now finished. So I'll wait for that camera to come back. With any luck, it will not brick-a-brack. But that's a pretty simple update. I mean, it's par for the course for, you know, the guys have been working really hard to make the update process less painful. The messaging around that has been resounding, and they are trying pretty hard to get, you know, to make life a little bit easier for you. So, okay, we're going to reboot the P200 now. Well, not reboot it, but we're going to check on the web UI and see when it comes back. I see that the camera is now restarting. Okay, you can see behind me that the web UI is now back. MICU is reporting, so that's good news. It is showing as 55112. I don't have an image yet, but the initial, as I recall, the initial boot up took an extra second. So I will wait for that to happen, give it a minute to actually finish booting up. And we can also switch over to the P4K, which is way across the room. I could, I guess, zoom this one in if the 200, you know, if I had to. But hopefully I don't have to do that. Log in. Change that. Alrighty. Wonder if I could just sneak this in here. Come on. It'd be great if I killed the camera that I was going to do the demonstration on. That'd be amazing. Okay. I'm going to open Studio Monitor. See what else, if this comes back or not. Studio Monitor? Where'd you go here? Come on. Silicon 2 protocol, none. And change. Whoops. Oh, whoops a daisy. Did the name change? Ooh, the name may have changed. I'm not too sure why that would have happened. Come on. It did not change. However, the image did not come back. So this is fun. Let's troubleshoot this. So I've got version 2.4 on the baseboard. Let's take a little look-see inside the download folder. It said that was the one that it needed to be on during the update, which is, I love that about this. However, yes, A2, A3 needs to be 2.4. And so the resolution for this is typically to redo, okay, it's a bin file. So to redo the bin file on it. So let me, all right, let me run a little commercial here and just grab some USBs so that I can do this update. And then I will be right back with you. So what do I got here? 30 seconds. Let's give it a try. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me again. Boy, that's annoying. Let me go to live and double check. Make sure that I've come back here. Okay. All right, so I have come back. All right, I got to start Twitch. Sorry, I plugged in a USB and it killed my whole system here, so I'm not too sure what on earth happened there. But because I'm running a USB device, then my audio disappeared, right? So sorry about that, everybody. Boy, that's annoying. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. And all because I'm just plugging into USB, which means that who knows how this, when I unplug it, how that's going to go. All right, step 2, we're going to do this I've done this a million times, and so that's why it's super easy. If I say format, all right, format hard drive partitions. I'm going to open up my little USB drive here after it figures out what's all there. Let me verify that we still have connections. Evidently, socials is still working, so that's good. I can see myself inside the, there we go. Okay, so I can see myself in the studio again. Still says that we're going, so that's good news. Okay, this is correct. This is formatted correctly, so I'm just going to, wish me luck, folks. I'm going to disconnect, I'm going to disconnect the USB, and hopefully I don't lose all my audio again. And then I will plug it into the camera and reboot the camera. So just give me 1 second. Okay, we've already watched that one. All right, so far this thing has not quit on me. So that's good. Let's open the web UI and get back to the shared screen. Yeah, here we go. It appears that the camera has come up. It's got 24 on. Oh no, okay, that's not it. I got really excited there for a second. Let's see if that camera has come back yet. I'm going to open Studio Monitor. I don't know where it's going to be here. Here we go. And I'm going to wait for the 200 to come online. With any luck, it says 200. Camera. I'm getting the boot up screen. That's good news. BirdDog logo. Hey! And here we go. So there you go, everybody. Wow, that's not great now. Hey, this is a great chance to learn all about how to set up your camera correctly, right? Because out of the box and out of the firmware update, it kind of it has like a very generic look. And if you look at my P4K, obviously I feel like it's set a fair bit darker, looks a little more balanced, whereas this one's quite kind of like light and doesn't look amazing in the studio. So today we're going to figure that out. First things first is we are going to zoom this in. And I'm going to reposition this. There, whoops, too much. Okay, so I got to go this way. Reposition this so that it's just me. A little bit more. Okay, I think that's that's okay. Let me check my grid real quick. Yeah, okay. I'll live with that for now. But this image is kind of meh. I'm not a huge fan of that. So what I will do is take you guys over to this shot for a moment. Ooh, I know what I can do. I can take you here, but in the meantime, I will also open a studio monitor and put that here. Does that work? Can you kind of see that? I hate the half screen thing, but let's do this. There we go. There we go. All right, so there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and log in. And now we can actually start talking about the coloration stuff. So let me get into vMix. Who knows if I hit record, I wonder if that's going to like totally mess up. Although I'm just going to record it in 1080p 30. So that's cool. All right, let's just see if that works. Cool. All right, well, here's hoping. If I start dropping frames, sorry. Okay, so we want to talk about colorizing the actual P200. And this is great just for like setup, how to set up your P200 and general camera knowledge. So I'm going to walk you through basically the AV setup screen, because I've had a bunch of tickets in recently where people are asking, it looks really grainy, or I can't get it to look right, or it doesn't matter what I do, it just doesn't look very professional. And so we want to provide you with a way to actually do that and have some frame of reference, okay? First thing out of the gates, I'm going to say it, I'll say it all the time, lighting is key here, okay? A broadcast lens really needs a lot of light, and so more than you think it does. That's the way you should think about it. It needs more light than you think it does. And so I have big lights in this studio. I have a couple of green lights on the back wall, but I have a fairly big falconized diffused light as my main light, and then for my key light, and then my fill light is a giant softbox. And so they're on both sides of my desk. And you could even probably see it if I went to this shot. That is, softbox is here. Falcon Eyes is there. Green lights are behind me, right? So lighting is key. And if you're going to use P200, which is what this camera is on both of these shots, if you're going to use the P200, you really need to think carefully about how much light you're able to get on the stage. And the second piece of that is what type of light. Okay, because there is white light. There are varying degrees of warmth when it comes to white light. So it can be warm or cold. And then it can be something crazy like RGBs, which are not great at producing white. They're great at producing a color, but they're not great at producing white. And so you got to work with what you have. You can't just, you can't just give up until you get all the ducks in a row. You definitely have to work with what you have. But in this instance, we definitely need to consider all of those things. Now, my lights are set to somewhere in like 4,500 to 5,000 range, okay, the warmth level of them, which is a very natural light. It's not a warm light, and it's not a very cold artificial light either. It's kind of something right in the middle, and a lot of videographers that you're going to see on YouTube and around, they're going to use something in that range. It's going to be somewhere like 4,000 to maybe 5,500, somewhere in there. So these ones are set to about 4,500 or 4,700, and it's a very nice working light. It's very bright and very clean, and it also makes my desk, I have a white desk, and so that makes it look a lot quite nice, especially when we switch to the overhead camera or something like that. Those lights are appropriate for doing hands-on demonstrations. So I prefer, and I think cameras in general, like streaming stuff online, prefers to have a natural light. And so that is going to be in that 4,000 to 5,000 range, or maybe 5,500, depending on how cold you want to go. But somewhere maybe 4,000 if you're leaning on the warm side of things. But, for the most part, probably just, 45 or 5,000. Now, there are varying temperature lights. That's what the Falcon Eyes is. That is not what the softbox is. So I have to match the Falcon Eyes with the softbox, or I have to buy different bulbs for the softbox. All right. So that's how you think about that. You kind of walk through it and pick your lighting first, and then turn up your lights. I mean, they really need to be quite bright so that your subjects are properly lit. You can always back down on the camera, but you can't go up. I mean, you can, but you're doing things to the image artificially to get it that way. And so if you have dim lighting and you have to turn up the gain level, then you're going to see a lot of busyness in the blacks. And I can kind of show you what that is, what that looks like on the blacks in the frame that I'm in. But you're going to have to be really careful about manipulating that. So here we go. We're going to log into our P200. We're going to look at the AV setup screen. And here is, a pretty convenient list of items. It's just to tell us what our format is. I don't really need this to be running in 60, and so I'm going to change it to 30, which is going to cause my camera to restart. And then, and not too much, but I hit apply here. And then you just want to go back to your dashboard and make sure that actually takes. And so we can refresh this because it's still reporting at 60. It may not have actually switched yet. So I'm going to restart the device, which is just restarting the NDI chip. So I'll cut over here. It's just restarting the NDI chip is all I'm doing. And I'm just waiting for that to kind of reboot, and then we'll be able to go again. So now we're going to cut back to, that's P400. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. Now we're back to the shared screen, and you can see my green screen and stuff is, the camera's setting the format. There I am. And it's zoomed out again. It resets it back to kind of this home position every time. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit Oh, we got to wait for that format to show up on the screen before I can send it PTZ commands. There it is. All right, now we can move it. Come on. Off the screen. There we go. Okay. So you do have to wait for the camera to finish booting before you can do some of this stuff. Now, the other piece that you're going to want to remember is you're going to want to set either all manual settings and set each of your presets at certain focal lengths, or you're going to want to try and keep the focal length of your PTZ relatively close to what it is. If you're doing big wide back shots and then really close, like close up, headshots, that's going to be a problem for the camera to manage the exposure. Because what's happening is as you zoom back and you're seeing more and more of the shot, you're actually letting more and more light into the lens. And so light is coming through the actual glass, hitting the sensor, and it's brighter and brighter and brighter, and it's not actually dialing it down. So what you have to do in the manual settings is actually set the manual settings for every preset. So then if you want to go back to the back of the room and have a wide shot, you're going to want to have the iris probably dialed back a bit so that it makes the room look natural. But then when you zoom in, you're losing all those lumens that are in on the sides of the shot, and you're zooming in on a subject on stage. Well, then you're going to have to open the iris up so to compensate for the loss of lumens. The danger is that if you don't have enough lighting, right, then you're going to introduce gain, which is going to then, as you zoom in, it's going to make the shot messier and busier and noisier, and it's not going to look very clean. So lighting is going to be key, and that was one of the things that I basically spoke with the customers about this week was you got to get the lighting right. Just looking at the photo, I know there's not enough lighting here, and he wrote back, a couple of guys, but this one in particular wrote back and said, yeah, that's true. I've got some burned out bulbs. I'm going to replace those and then see how it looks. But I did give him the run through of what we're going to talk about here on this cam control tab. And I gave him those settings, and he said the thing looks night and day different, but it is very dark, and so I'm going to need to light up the stage. So what do we do about all of that? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is kind of work left to right, and the first tab that you're going to work on is exposure. Okay, so we're going to go from left to right. First tab is all the way to the right, but exposure, white balance, and then the picture settings, and maybe color matrix if we want to get into that. But the first is exposure. So if I were to just set this kind of like to full auto, the camera will just decide for me what it's going to do. It blows out the green behind me, and as I move, as my black shirt takes up less or more of the screen, the camera adjusts things to try and keep the same amount of light in the shot. Okay. But this doesn't look very good. I mean, my cutout looks okay. My green screen cutout looks okay, but the actual picture itself, when I go over to use this shot, that's way too bright. So I'm not going to use that one. So what we want to do is dial it back a little bit. Now, there are a couple of ways to kind of go like semi-auto on this. You can tell it, the camera, to balance itself with a fixed shutter. And so if I'm shooting in 1080p 30, I could set the shutter to 30. In theory, you would set it to 60. You always want to like double, but as a general rule, so it's like double or more. So that would be 1/60 in this instance because I'm shooting at 1080p 30. So I'm going to shoot at 60 frames. But what this does then is it takes the iris and it adjusts the iris. So again, as my shirt takes up more or less of the shot, you can see the brightness changing kind of on the fly. And it's a little jarring to watch. It's, again, my cutout on the corner of the screen down here is okay. But if you're actually going to watch this shot and I'm going to move my arms around, it totally changes the exposure like wild, okay? It's clearly making alterations. And it highly depends on what people are wearing. And so a semi-automatic is okay to start. But as you get using the cameras, you're really going to want to learn the manual settings because then you can dial it in. And you'll understand, for example, like when the lights go down, what does that do? One of the instances, just as a sidebar here, that I've been talking to some people about is they want to do, for example, at Christmas time, they want to do a special service and they want to record it or they want to stream it. They want it to be like a candlelight service. My recommendation for that is light it like you normally would and dial back on the cameras. And so it looks like a candlelight service on the cameras, but the cameras need, if you're going to primarily stream this, it's not going to be an in-house candlelight service. It will be a candlelight service online. if that's what you're streaming it for. If you're primarily doing it in-house, I would advise not streaming it, because I don't know of many cameras out there that will give a high quality, very, very low light, like candlelight temperature stream. And so that's one of those decisions, is like, if we're going to put this online as a stream service, we're going to have to turn the lights on and have candles, but we'll have to dial back the irises to make it look like it's a candlelight service. But if we're primarily offering this as an in-seat service, we should probably think twice about offering it as a streamed service. So there you go, sidebar. Okay, so shutter priority is kind of like that, that semi-automatic option. The thing that you can manipulate here is you can tell what threshold to go to. So in this instance, when I move my shirt around and you see the exposure changing, it's going up to 28.6 decibels of gain change. And so we can actually roll that back if we want and say, you know what though, like I only want you to go up to 10. And so now if I move around, it doesn't quite go as extreme as it did before, but it still definitely changes it, and I don't like it. I don't think it looks very good for what it is that I use it for. The other option is, of course, iris priority, which is a flip. It's pinning the iris in place, and it's adjusting the shutter speed. Again, it's okay if it's like I'm in a pinch and I just need this camera to be up and I'll color correct it later. But if you are really going to position these cameras and call different, like if you're going to do different focal lengths or you're going to move it around a stage, if it's a true PTZ situation, you're probably going to want to set your presets to have the correct actual camera settings programmed. And so when the lighting changes on the stage, you hit preset 2 and it changes the settings for that scene, and then you control the camera, or you can program the position as well, and then call those positions during that section of the service or the class or whatever. So iris priority, meh. So then we're going to go to full manual, and just turning it on obviously shows you that there's a massive difference in what my settings are. You can also see my green screen stuff is kind of messed up because the shot is not correct. So we've turned the gain limit way down to 10, which is probably what we need to do because gain is last, okay? What I would suggest, if you're new to this, is to at least match your frame rate of your shutter speed. So 1080p 30, right? So here I could dial that back to 30. And look, that's going to adjust my image a fair bit. I mean, that's a lot brighter than it was. It's almost back to where it was. And then adjust your iris all the way open. So for the for the P200, we can go right down to 1.6 depending on the focal length of the lens. And then that's too bright, clearly. So that means I don't have to introduce any gain. So the gain can be set to 0. This is the thing that's going to introduce a lot of that busyness in the black portions of the screen. So you're going to want to go to 0, open the iris all the way up, match your shutter speed to at least the same speed, preferably double. Okay, so in my instance, I'm doing 1080p 30, so I could set mine to 60. Okay, with the iris wide open, that looks pretty good. I'm sending the NDI chip twice as many frames as it needs, and then the NDI chip is basically removing every other one of them, and then it's outputting 30 frames. And then we can slowly kind of finesse where the iris, the f-stop needs to be. So we can get too dark and then scroll back. I like it somewhere in f-stop 2 or 2. What's the next one here? 2.4, right? Yeah. I like it here. However, in this instance, we're a little bit too dark. And so you can either open the iris a bit or you can roll back the shutter speed to regain some of that exposure. So here, I'm going to go to 1/30. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Let's compare it to the P4K. Okay. And I would say the P200 is actually a little bit too bright. So in this instance, I'm going to leave it at 1/30, but I am going to change the iris and dial the iris back one more f-stop. Now, here's a pro tip that I don't know if you knew this or not. The f-stop gives you more finesse over the lumens in the shot than the shutter speed, okay? So we always set the shutter speed. I always set the shutter speed first and get it kind of a little bit too bright. And then I dial back. One of the things that you want to avoid is operating in the extremes. Okay, so you don't want to operate in the extremes at any way. So if I were, for example, to go to like 1/60, I would need to open this iris like all the way up pretty much to 1.6. I have nowhere to go with the iris at this point. Not a great place to be, especially when you're running a live show and you need to make a quick minor adjustment. I can't go any further here. And remember what I said, the shutter speed is more of an extreme change to the image than the iris. And so I want to actually have room left or right of the iris to go in either direction if I need to, opposed to having room on the shutter speed to go left and right. So I could go to 30 or I could go to 90 on the shutter. But instead, I would like to go to 30, right? Because that matches my frames, and that's okay. We're not losing any frames here. The image is fine. And then I can dial back what my f-stop needs to be for this shot. And now I've got room. Let's say somebody comes in and monkeys with my lights and they turn them up brighter than they are. And I sit down and I'm like, whoa, this shot is so bright. Or it looks wrong, you know, like it looks too bright compared to the other. And what I'm doing here, by the way, on the difference between the P4K shot and the P200 shot is I'm looking at the green, kind of the bright, there's like a hot spot right behind me, like a green hot spot. And if you look between these two shots, oops, not that shot. Look between these two shots, look at the brightness that's kind of on the other side of my head here. Look at that. See, that color matches in these two shots pretty close. Don't get distracted by the light that's down here, okay? That has a definite hot spot on the wall, and that's not what I want to compare my shot to. I want the general wash to be compared. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually looking over this shoulder, and I'm looking at this patch of green right here, and then I'm doing the same thing here on this shot, and they're pretty close. All right, they're for a P4K pitted against a P200. They're pretty close. All right, let's just throw that out there. Okay, so I like having it 1/30. I like having some room with the iris. I don't have to involve any additional artificial gain, and the gain limit doesn't even matter at this point because we're using 0. Okay. Now, if you change the gain limit and you want to add artificial gain, you can set this to basically 10, and then this is supposed to be how high it can go. Now, something's up here, but it may just need a refresh. But anyways, you can set the threshold for the gain limit, and then that's as much as it'll go. But you can also set the gain limit to 50 decibels and ruin any shot that you use. So, again, it's one of those like extreme things. I don't know why you would have that. Excuse me. Okay, let's just show you then what busy blacks look like when it comes to setting correct lighting in your shot, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to up the iris. Whoa, that's too much. I'm going to up the shutter speed. I'm going to up the shutter speed. And this looks like a poorly lit shot, okay? And nothing has changed in the studio. Just the shutter speed has changed. And if this is what my set looks like, if this is how bright my set looks like, and that's, again, this is kind of an extreme case. I could even dial it back to like 1/100. But if this is what my set genuinely looks like, then I would need to introduce artificial gain. And so we could start creeping up on the artificial gain and see what that's doing to the image, is that it's actually brightening that shot so that you can see it. But what you're not seeing is now all of the area around me has like this weird like movement to it. Okay, you can probably zero in on your screen and look really closely. But you can see the area around me that's being artificially lit up is basically moving. You can see like it almost looks like flickering or something like that. So if you have poor lighting, okay, and then we introduce the artificial gain to the shot, and we can open this up. Oh, this is a good example. If you look at the green in my shot, you can definitely see the busyness of the shot. Now, we offer high shutter speeds if you have professional lighting that are 10,000 lumens and you can dial it way back and do high shutter speed stuff. But in a studio setting, or if you're at a school, or if you're in a church or something like that, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to set your iris to 1/30. I'm sorry, set your shutter speed to 1/30 or 1/60, depending on what standard you're using. And in some instances, you might be using, you might be in Europe, so you might be using 25 or 50. But you're going to want to set your shutter speed to something that's appropriate for your actual shutter speed that you're using. Whoop, goodbye, everybody. So in this instance, we are going to show this. And I'm going to actually run this at 1/30, which makes my shot a little bit too bright if the iris were wide open, okay? A little bit too bright if the iris were wide open. But then we dial it back to like f-stop 2. Still a little bit too bright. F-stop 2.4. Yeah, now we're getting into the wheelhouse. Let's check one more. I think it's 2.8. That's pretty close. All right. And the comparison again that I'm doing is P200, P4K. The thing that I don't see in the 200 is obviously the depth of the color of the blacks that are in my shirt and in my hat. I'm not getting that like I am with the P4K. Mostly because P4K has the ability and a giant 1-inch sensor compared to the faithful 200 that just has it's a smaller sensor. It's a broadcast sensor, but it's just smaller, so it's not going to do the depth of the blacks like the P4K. Okay, exposure is done. Now we want to just talk about color real quick. So we want to look somewhat natural, but again, the question will be, what do you think looks correct? And the catch here is to check multiple sources, okay? For example, the P200 is housed inside a beautiful 15-inch Telscript NDI teleprompter. And in there, I'm sending the vMix output for the program. So when I change cameras, I see the change in the camera, but I'm always looking at the P200, which is right behind the glass. That shot is much brighter than what's on my screen, okay? This screen right here, okay, the Dell over here. That screen looks very different than what's on the Telscript, which looks very different than what is on the television that's next to me, which looks very different than what's on the iPhone. Okay, check multiple sources. Check them the first time, make adjustments, check them again, check them again, check them again, check them again. Every time you make a change, check your different sources because it will look a little bit different on each of them based on the coloration settings of those devices. All right, there's no industry standard for this crap. It's really annoying. So that's why people pay thousands of dollars for calibrated screens, because then it's true to the actual colors that they're wanting to. But it doesn't make a ton of difference because everybody's using screens that are not color balanced. You see like the weird thing about that? So what do you think looks good? This is the subjective piece, is like, do you want a colder shot? Do you want a warmer shot? Do you want it to seem cozier? Do you want it to seem more professional? Do you want it to seem more movie-like? Do you want to see it seem like more interview? Do you want it to be more like a live event where you're peering through a window and watching from afar? What are you going for? You tell us, and then we can tell you how to set the camera. But in this instance, I'm just going for something that looks like John, okay? What I think John looks like. I might be too tan. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time looking at myself in the mirror, contrary to popular opinion. That's not something I do. So we can finesse, if we go back to our shared screen here, we can finesse in the full manual settings, which is known as user, not manual, unfortunately. But the user settings, we can change the white balance. Now, there are some autopilot options. There's an outdoor option, an indoor option, an ATW auto white. Auto white balance, is that right? Automatic white balance. Yeah. There is an actual auto, which is a full fluctuating auto. If you have a color on your set, or if you have multiple talent or whatever, don't use that one. Okay. What's really helpful to use here is what's known as a chip chart. Go to Amazon.com and look up videography chip chart, CHIP chart. Okay. Chip chart. What that is it's a grid of colors that are true, okay? So they're printed with true accuracy, and then you put that in front of your camera, and then you dial in your colors with a chip chart. That's the easiest way, probably the fastest way to get consistency across multiple cameras, especially multiple brands. All right, so get a chip chart. If you're new to this, they're like $10. So if you got to request a budget for that, I'm really sorry, but you probably need to get a chip chart because it's a great investment, and be careful about what you pay for, because if you buy something really cheap, the colors may not be very accurate. Okay, but if you could pay whatever you want, you can probably pay $100 for a stupid chip chart. You don't need to do that. You could even go as far as to get one of those little like clapper things, and they have coloration on, like usually they have colors on the actual arm, and you can use that as your chip chart if you want. So there you go. Pro tip, you didn't even know you were going to get that one today. And on here there are also, or sorry, over here, there are also a bunch of other options for like semi-auto. But the truth is that we're probably going to, on the P200, we're probably going to use the user setting, which is manual, which will give us the ability to manipulate the blues and the greens and the reds and the yellows. And what that does is it allows us to adjust the temperature of the shot. It's kind of like fine tuning. It's kind of like dialing it in, okay? You're going to find out that when you move the slider on one of them, the color on the other one really changes, all right? So when we change it from green to blue, you're going to notice the warmth is going to change, which is yellow and red. And this really screwed with my brain when I first started doing this, because I would think I want to adjust the yellow and the red, and so I'd start moving that, and I'd see the blues and the greens changing. But what it's doing is it's subtracting or adding those colors to the shot, and then it's bringing out the ones that you're not manipulating. So you're manipulating the warmth of the shot through the yellow and the red, and it's changing the cool of the shot, right? So you have to think in terms of layers with this. If I make this adjustment here, I'm going to have to make this adjustment here. So if I'm going warmer, okay, if I go towards the yellows, I'm going to need to bring up the blues, all right, because I'm going to go warmer, and then I got to balance it with cool. And then if I'm in too far of an extreme, I need to bring those two things back together. I need to kind of draw them back, which is why why typically on my cameras, the way that I set the coloration is that those two arrows are generally close to each other. One is always off, but you know, this is a great example. So look at this. Okay, so I had this up here at like what, 1 I probably should have noticed. I had this, yeah, the 170s. Okay, cool. So let's say we're going to start on the the blue gain, and I'm going to head towards the green. So I'm at 179. Somebody remember that for me. I'm at 179, and I'm going to start dialing towards the green. Well, watch what happens to my shot. Now I have like jaundice, right? I'm like overly tan. I look like I fell asleep in a tanning bed. And so the yellows have gotten too much. So we can manipulate that a little bit. Let's see what happens. We go towards the reds. Okay, that looks terrible. Let's go towards the yellows. And as I progress towards the yellows, now my skin turns green. I have too much green in the shot. That's where I went, right? So I was in like the 200 and something here, but I've dialed it down towards the green. Well, as I went, and it turned my skin yellow. So then as I move towards yellow, then I'm very green. So now I need to balance this back up and go head towards the blues to try and get my skin tones. And now this green is not the green that's in my studio, and I look blue in the shot. And so I got too much blue going on. So I know that I have to go towards the red. I have to add some warmth. I've got to add some reds. Now look, my skin tones come back, right? So as we dial that up, okay, too much pink. So let's come back a bit, 204. Okay, I'm pretty close, but I still look too blue. And I know for a fact that I was at 179 before. And I'm pretty close to what I was. I might be a little bit too much on the red here. Maybe. But let's compare this now. So if we cut this over to the P200, and then I dump the, whoops, sorry, wrong camera, the P4K. The P4K makes me look a little bit more tan than I am, but we are pretty close. Now, a chip chart would make this a lot faster instead of eyeballing it. But that's how you think about it while you're mapping it out. You have to actually like think like if I pull the string this way, I've got to pull the string the other way to kind of match it. And then you get it accurate by bringing those two things in kind of simultaneously. So in this instance, it definitely looks wrong. So let's come down here a little bit and see what we can do. Maybe it's not red enough. Whoa! That's too much. 202. One of the requests, the feature requests that I have in is, can we enable the click wheel on the mouse to change the color by 1? That'd be so cool. All right, so let's see. If I dial back on the blues a little bit, yeah, that looks pretty good. So if I cut between these two shots now, again, I'm pitting a 200 against a P4K. So that is something else. And look, I'll check multiple sources, right? So I'm going to watch, okay, I'm talking about the mouse here right now, and just see the difference between these two shots. Okay, here, I'm going to show the two shots now. So click. Yeah, that looks pretty good. They look pretty even. And so I'm happy with that white balance, but that's how you got to think about white balance, okay? Don't just hit the one push button. Please don't do that. Click on user and learn how to finesse the individual colors that are being manipulated in the white balance and get it to look as natural as you can, and then check multiple screens, okay? If you don't have a professional studio and you don't have a calibrated screen, check multiple screens. Now, sidebar, they actually make a screen calibrator to get you the correct image across multiple screens on a computer. I've used one of these. They're like $160 or something like that, but they work pretty well, and they help you dial in your coloration settings on your Windows or Mac computer. So those are probably worth checking out. I can find a brand name if anyone's interested in knowing that. Okay, finally, we're just going to talk about the picture settings and the matrix briefly. The picture settings obviously are talking about sharpness, and we're talking about noise reduction and all that sort of thing. Now, inside the shot, again, you never want to operate in extremes on anything, okay? I just think it's a bad idea. So we want to keep it somewhere in the middle, and you can monkey around with what you think the contrast needs to look like, okay? We can really screw with things here, but I like mine to be somewhere around maybe here, which looks pretty good. So 92, 97. Noise reduction, I find that noise reduction 2 or 3 is about as far as I want to go. 4 makes the image blurry, and 5 makes fast motion. It makes ghosts, okay? So you don't want to do 5. You want to be somewhere in like maybe 2 or 3, and so then those ghosts are gone in movement. Now, I'm only running 30 frames here, by the way, so that's why my hands are blurry. But it doesn't have, if I up the reduction and then do that again, you can see the trail my hand leaves on the screen. So we're going to want to go down to 2 or 3. I leave it at 3, and that seems to be a good, like, little happy medium. Sharpness is also another one of those things where people think, oh, 0 is where is the balance. It's like a happy medium between the two. I actually disagree. I like to have less on the sharpness side on this image, and it wasn't this extreme before, but I actually pull my sharpness down because it makes it a little bit too crunchy, especially if you have like facial hair or you don't take care of your beard. You start to see a lot of details that you probably don't want the audience's attention to be drawn to. And so I actually like to smooth some of that stuff out with bringing down the sharpness a bit, somewhere in the 20, 30, 40 range. But that's up to you. What do you think looks good? And, you have to make a decision and live with that decision. There's nothing on here that I want to manipulate on picture 2, by the way. These are more like features, but not really functions. They have a function. They have a reason. Stabilizer, if you mount this camera on a noisy door that has like a panic bar on it or something like that, okay, you might get away with stabilizing it a bit, although we do lose a little bit of the image when we do that, and so compromise, right? Get a proper mount. But you can turn on and off the IR filter if for some reason that's something you want to do. I don't know why. These are not security cameras, so I'm not too sure why you'd want to do that. But anyways, maybe there's a use case that I'm just not familiar with. The screen didn't load correctly here because, oh, that's weird. The screen did load correctly. It just, oh, there it is. Okay, I was like, what is going on here? Whoops-a-daisy. Okay, so here is that screen. Color matrix, the way that I like to talk about color matrix with customers is if you need to subtract a color from something, you can use color matrix for that. Most of the time you want this to be right down the middle even, okay? But if you have a set, for example, that has like a dominant red light, or you have something that is like really blue in the shot, and you need to pull some of that out, you can do that in color matrix, and it's really kind of a neat thing because it helps you like red, for example, in your skin tones. You can kind of dial that out a little bit. You can dial it back. Again, don't operate in extremes, but play around with it a little bit and see what it does. I like it because, again, if I have too much of something in a shot, and generally I wear, a black shirt, black hat, whatever in this show, and I have a green set. So I don't really need to manipulate the colors. I like it. I like this shot. I like that you can see, kind of what's going on, and I like the balance in terms of that shot. But there's definitely some option here if you've got something that's just too bright. Think of like when you have a really well lit stage and the preacher decides to wear like a hot pink shirt. Okay. You can dial it out. If you can dial it back a little bit. Now, you may just want to talk about clothing options. But I understand sometimes you can't tell preachers anything. So there you go. All right. And then the advanced tab. There's not a whole lot here that I would also recommend. Brightness, it's not really a requirement, but if we dial that right out, it doesn't really make a humongous difference. So I don't think that needs to happen. Video enhancements, this actually enables this tab, so the brightness thing isn't really going to do anything. I just keep it off and keep the gamma at 0, because gamma is okay, but it basically makes the shot kind of look like a log file, honestly. So this can just be set to 0. That is down the middle what it could be. If you wanted to dial the blacks, like emphasize, have a darker shot, you could come back on the gamma a little bit and then bring up the iris to make everything bright again. We could maybe just do that real quick and see what that looks like. So if we open up the iris again, yeah, that's not too bad. And then if I cut between these two shots, the blacks are a little bit darker, but it's kind of it's like an artificial shadow, like an artificial black. So there you go. That's how you quickly get kind of up and running with a P200. And things to consider while you're setting them up. I know it doesn't seem like it's quick because it's 36 minutes, but that is literally what you should do and how you should be thinking if you're new to this. It's a great way to get kind of up and running. Remember, the number one thing with broadcast lenses, and welcome to the family if you just bought a P200 or anything beyond the 200 family, those are broadcast lenses. The big thing with those is light. Light is king. Think about how much light you can get and think about what color light you're getting. Avoid RGBs if you're just trying to light a subject on stage. Don't do those, okay? Buy lights that are white adjustable lights, or buy ones that are set at a specific Kelvin rating. I recommend somewhere between 4,000 and 5,500 Kelvin. It's just the easy middle ground. Gives a nice, bright, natural look, and you can see everything, okay? So hang out there. Think about lighting before you start talking about adjusting picture quality. That'll help you out big time when it comes to balancing your shot and making it look like something that you want to watch. So thanks for coming along. I'm going to get back to the chat. All right, recording has stopped. Hopefully that worked. Hopefully that was not like 36 minutes of silence and you guys have been screaming on the show saying, no audio, no audio, no audio. Let's find out. Oh, and 14 minutes ago, it was, yes, we can hear you. What is Corey Diego? Is that right? Welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate that. Hey, speaking of YouTube, when I started the show, I had 399 subscribers. So maybe we will. Maybe we're gonna hit the 400 mark today. Let's maybe. If you haven't done so, be sure you head over to BirdDogJohn.tv. It could be you. You could be contestant number 400. I mean, subscriber number 400. Why is not... There we go. Chrome was struggle bussing here. Trying to get... All right, so my channel. Let's view your channel. 399. So it could be you. Be sure that you subscribe to the show and you could change the world. So there's a handful of you guys watching. Always appreciate that. Feel free to hang out with us at any time. We love this thing. Seriously, this show is such a cool part of what we do, mostly because it connects us to you guys, and also we can show you things. You can have real-time feedback. You can tell me what you're thinking. Feel free to join me over on BirdDogJohn.tv if you want to jump in on the chat. That chat comes into vMix now because I did that yesterday or 2 days ago, and I can show it on the screen. So whenever NetHab has something to say, I can put it up here. He is over on Twitch. You can also contribute to the chat on Twitch, and so feel free to stop by there and let me know. Oh, Michael Graves, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. Chip chart is well worth the investment. Yes, the whole $10 it costs, it will save you a very long time of, I think this looks close. I think this is right. Chip chart, basically, you can set it up on your stage and then balance all your cameras kind of at the same time so that they all look the same, so that the chip chart looks the same, and then you don't have to worry about any of that. So it's a great investment. Get really comfortable with your equipment when it comes to setting white balance and setting the settings on the camera itself. Get used to what it is that you use and how you like to set up the shot. And then if you're doing any post coloration afterwards, that's always helpful. I'm sorry to see that Eamon has left the company. Yes, that was the news that did go live a little while ago. So I guess I'm able to post that here. But yes, that was a tough day. Always a challenge to say goodbye to a friend. Eamon is definitely he's near and dear to me, mostly because he's the first guy I ever met at BirdDog. He I had some online interviews and chats and whatever, but I walked up to NAB 2019 and I saw a very frantic yet enthusiastic guy setting up for a show, and it was him and one of the engineers, Adel. And I walked up and said, "Hi, I'm John. I'm here to work the show with you." And he said, "Oh man, I'm so excited that you're here. Come over here and let me introduce you to Adel. He's going to get you up to speed of what you need to know. And then we're going to set up for the show for like the next day." So I walked in on Sunday, and the show I think was starting on Monday or something like that. And so I showed up that afternoon, got what I refer to as a baptism by fire education on NDI. And my first day was the day after setup day. I guess they paid me for Sunday, but was the setup day for NAB, the day before NAB 2019 started. And yeah, Eamon was the first BirdDog employee I ever officially shook hands with. And I remember after that show, so I worked that floor for several days, and Wednesday I had to go. And so Wednesday, like at 2:00 in the afternoon, I had to go back to the airport, catch my flight. I was leaving a little bit early before the show shut down. And so it was like noon. I told them I'm going to be here till Wednesday at noon, and then I got to head out. And I remember I got my backpack, and I kind of was like I said goodbye to Adel. I was like, "Hey man, it's been great. Thanks for everything. And I look forward to doing more stuff with you." And he's like, "Yeah, great." Adel's not a guy of a lot of words. But he was like, "Yeah, great. That's great. We'll talk soon." And then I went over to Eamon and I shook his hands like, "Hey man, I got to get to the airport. It's been a blast. Thank you so much for inviting me and letting me stand around and figure it out as I go along." And he totally took me aside and was like, oh, hang on. And he like stopped the conversations he was having with customers on the floor. And he basically like pulled me around the side of the booth, and he was like, "We're all in on you." He's like, I'm sold. I want you on the team. So he's like, "You tell us what needs to happen and we'll make it happen." And man, that was a big deal. I mean, it basically sealed the deal for me working for BirdDog because Eamon had faith. So yeah, I miss him being around. He was a big part of my onboard and the company and whatever. And so we'll be watching. We'll see what he's going to be up to in the future. Cause yes, he's a super nice guy and he will land somewhere well. So I'm grateful for Eamon. He's a good guy. And that's a tough transition. So that was difficult. Alrighty. Enough of that because yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. Good stuff. No, and yeah, no, officially I haven't said anything on this show about that, but it is kind of like it's out there now in terms of he's posted on LinkedIn and the company has posted as well. So that's it's common knowledge. It's not a secret or anything like that. We can chat about that. He traveled like a madman. He absolutely did. Matter of fact, for a very long time, he was running the APAC area sales. I mean, he did a lot of that. He did the marketing stuff. But yeah, he was running sales in APAC because he has a lot of friends and connections in those regions. And so he had good connections with our distributors over there, was able to, kind of be boots on the ground with them. But he was over there quite frequently. And, it was good to have him around because he knew a lot of people. What I remember about trade, so when I went back to NAB in 2022, Eamon was there, and I just remember him being constantly busy. People coming up to him and saying his name, and knowing him, and having a friendship with him, like having a working relationship or a friendship, or they had a beer together, and he knew their names, and he was usually pretty polite, unless he was good buddies with them, and then he razzed them a bit. But yeah, he was a really fantastic people person, and I love that about him. He's way better at it than me. So a little envy there. The good type. The part of me that aspires to be kind of like that. So good stuff. Okay, I didn't promise. I said I was going to try and go for an hour, and I've gone an hour and a half already. So that whole segment was like 40 minutes. So whoops-a-daisy. That's not a clip. That's a whole video. I will upload that later as a little snippet, so you don't have to watch the whole show. But I do want to say thanks. I want to, for anybody that's hanging around, thanks for jumping over on socials and VMix Social, I guess is what we're calling it, and hanging out with us there. I'm going to pull up the stream is good there. Twitch, socials. I haven't missed anything on there. Nope. So we'll be back on Tuesday. That's the plan. And we'll have a show. Now, I bumped the cloud show to Tuesday in hopes that Mr. Josh will be available to join me. So I want to do the show with him. And so if it gets bumped again, it's just because of availability. He's a very busy guy. But I do want to have him on. And we want to introduce Josh because he's new to the team here on Stateside. And we can talk about what he's up to. And he's got a very interesting history. He's worked for many, many companies, and now he's working for us, and it's great. He's been doing a great job. So really interested in having a chat with him, but we're going to bring his feed into our show via cloud. That's the point. That's the hope. I have a machine that's set up as an endpoint in the next room over. We'll bring him over. We'll decode his signal over there. We'll bring it into vMix. And then on Tuesday's show, I had set up these kind of like these things, right? These little like interview panels. So we did this one, and I have the ability to zoom in on people. So now we can actually, do that. And then I have this one, which I'm not on. So I should probably put my face on one of these, right? So I think this is input number 35. So here I am. So if I have an interview, I'm hoping near the end of the year, we're going to have a few guys on the show just to kind of talk about year end and talk about what we're excited about and how the year went and all that stuff. So, and just to sit down, I mean, I haven't seen, even if it's just stateside sales guys, I haven't seen some of them in a very long time. So it'd be great to chat with them, but maybe have somebody over from Australia, maybe have somebody over in Europe. Who knows? We will see who's available and who feels like talking. So that'll be good. Looking forward to seeing those, whoever's available. Take care, guys. It has been a very busy 48 hours over here. Can't say much about that, but I can say it's been very busy, and I'm looking forward to the weekend coming up. Looking forward to, how that's all kind of mapping out. And so I'm running sound this weekend for a service on Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's all I have planned other than decorating for Christmas. Maybe we'll see. So take it easy, everybody. I really appreciate you coming along for the ride. I will double check the social channel one more time to make sure I haven't missed. Yep, nothing there. Be sure that you check in on Tuesday from 11 to 12. I have a little placeholder on birddogjohn.tv for Tuesday's show. That says vMix or vMix interviews via BirdDog Cloud. Come by and hang out with us on that day. That'll be a lot of fun. So we will we'll chat again soon. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Man, that's important. And seriously, Be well. We'll see you in a few days over on Tuesday, around 11 o'clock Eastern time right here. BirdDogJohn.tv. Take care, guys. I appreciate you. Bye.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.
resistance.